Welcome to our daily Forex market analysis call, and this is for trading on November 13th, 2019. Just a quick disclaimer here before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. As usual, we will start with our calendar. All right, so in terms of the data here, sorry, excuse me. Okay, in terms of the data here, nothing major. We saw that average earnings came in below expectations here. We did see a drop in pound. What we have coming up here is data for New Zealand and Australia here as well. We have wage index as well as our New Zealand dollar here. We have the official cash rate and monetary policy statement here. So in terms of New Zealand dollar here, the market is expecting an interest rate cut. So if the Reserve Bank of New Zealand delivers the rate cut, then we could see New Zealand dollar go up. But it's in the commentary, it depends on what they say about it. If they cut the rate and then they point towards future interest rate cuts, that would be negative for New Zealand dollar. However, a lot of times these things get priced into the markets. So if they cut the rate, but they say, okay, we are going to hold it after this, that could actually push New Zealand dollar up. So we have to look at what they have to say in terms of their commentary. So that's our New Zealand dollar. Another thing here, we did have a speech from President Trump here. So in terms of the speech, what we got here was that there is no deal. Looks like there's no deal yet with China, and President Trump is wanting to make a deal with China, but there is no deal yet. So we are still seeing that basically comments like this, right? So so that doesn't point towards a really significant, basically it doesn't mean that there's anything coming up. He did say that he's expecting the phase 1 deal to be done soon, but did not specify when that will happen. So we have to, at this point, just wait and see what happens. But basically, we do not have a deal just yet. And coming up on Wednesday here, we have CPI numbers out of UK. We are expecting them to be at 1.6%. If they are below this number, then, or if the data is below this number, we're likely to see British pound drop here, because CPI data is an important piece of data that the central banks look at. And then, and actually especially because in the backdrop, we see that Bank of England, 2 members actually voted to cut rates. So if the CPI data comes out negative, or sorry, below expectations, then we are likely to see expectations build up in the markets for interest rate cut. So this is why the numbers for UK will be very important right now. And then we have CPI numbers for US as well. So again, important piece of data here that we definitely need to pay attention to. We also have Powell testifying. So expect volatility in the market if he says anything that is in line, not in line with what has already been said. If he is dovish in his outlook for the economy, then we could see US dollar drop as a result of that. So we just need to be careful here. We also have Reserve Bank of New Zealand Governor Orr speaking. So this could also cause fluctuation or volatility in the market based on what he has to say. So we could see New Zealand dollar drop if the comments are dovish, or go up if he is positive about the economy and the future for New Zealand. And then in the evening, we have Australian dollar data. We have employment numbers. Again, if they are below expectations, that will be negative for Australia. So that's all for our data right now. So let's go on to our charts here. We'll start off with euro dollar. Excuse me. So yesterday we were looking for euro to push up a little bit to test further before dropping. It didn't do that, did not break the high of yesterday, and it has dropped. So still continuing on with this bearish trend here. So bias is still bearish and looking for price to drop further. We could get a bit of a pullback here, but I am looking for a continuation of the trend. So bias is bearish for euro dollar. First target is 1.10, which we are very close to, and then 1.0920. So bearish bias here for euro dollar. Pound dollar hasn't really done much. It's just gone back and forth here. In terms of our daily candle, we have a neutral candle. It hasn't broken the high at this point. So bias is neutral for pound. What we could get is a pullback and then a drop here. That's what I would be looking for. So bias here is neutral. So I would look for a bit of a pullback and then a drop towards 1.2770. So neutral bias here for pound dollar. Aussie dollar here, this one is also bearish. We do have a bearish candle close here. So looking for price to continue lower into 0.6800. So bias is bearish for Aussie dollar here. New Zealand dollar, this one is bearish as well. Price has held the previous high, so yesterday's high. We have a nice bearish candle close, but just keep in mind that we are right into support here. Price has actually not broken the low just yet. At this point, if we see that interest rates get cut and the statement is dovish from Reserve Bank of New Zealand, we are likely to see a drop in this. And in that case, I will look for drop into 0.6280 and then even lower potentially into 0.6240. But for now, bias is bearish. However, if the comments are not quite dovish, in fact, they are neutral or bullish, actually, especially if they're bullish, if they say something like, oh, this is just one and done type of interest rate cut, and then we won't be cutting rates anymore, then we could see price go up. So just keep that in mind. And this could go back towards the 0.6380 level, or we could even see it go towards 0.6400. So basically back towards the high of the range here. But for now, it is making lower highs. So looking for price to drop. First target is 0.6280. Second target is 0.6240. Dollar CAD, yesterday we had talked about this being bullish, and we saw that price try to break through this resistance level and then failed. So right now bias is still bullish, but it doesn't seem to have the momentum to the upside, or as much momentum to the upside. So today we have a neutral candle close, which means price could go in either direction. Again, it would be a matter of where price holds. So if you see a break through that, I will look for a pullback hold and only then a further move to the upside. So neutral to bullish bias here, but we need to see a break and hold above our resistance line for this one to continue higher. So neutral bias. So if it doesn't hold above, then I will look for price to drop towards 1.3200. Otherwise, we're looking at 1.3290 here. So for now, we have to wait and see which way it holds. So neutral bias for dollar CAD. Okay, so let's take a look at silver here. Silver has traded in this range for the last 2 days. Bias is still neutral. Overall, it is bearish. So at this point, it's neutral. So we need to see how this one goes here. Again, so the US and China trade negotiations will have an impact on silver here and gold as well. So if the comments out of China are positive, saying that they're likely to reach a deal soon, then we are likely to see this one drop. Overall, though, still holding on to that bearish bias. It hasn't quite turned yet. Watch out, though, because this one could turn. So if the comments out of China are negative, saying that or suggesting that they're not close to a deal, then of course we can see this one go up. But for now, I would be open to a move in either direction. If it breaks the high here, I would look for a move higher. If it breaks the low, I will look for a move lower. So for now, my bias is neutral for silver. Gold here, this one is looking neutral as well. Price is into support here. It's rejected the low here. However, it hasn't really given us a good solid candle that is bullish. So neutral candle for today. And as such, we need to see which direction price goes in. I will look for a move above 1466 as a bullish move, but if it doesn't hold above 1466, it can still come back. So it can still do one of these. So right now it is neutral. We just need to see if it breaks through 1466, then I'm looking for a move higher. But if it breaks down through the support, then looking for a move lower. At this point, this one is neutral as well. Oil, we have a bearish pin bar here. Price has tested this resistance several times now and has failed. So I will look for a move lower towards 55.80. So bearish bias here for oil. Second target is 55. So bearish again for oil. Copper here, we were looking for a drop yesterday. We got that. Next target is 2.59 and then 2.57. So bias here is bearish for copper as well. Bitcoin, this one is neutral still. It's holding that level, hasn't quite closed below it. Overall, it is looking heavy, so we could see a further drop here. Next target is 8300. But today's candle close is neutral. So if it doesn't close below today's low, this one could turn around as well. So watch out for that. But for now, this one is neutral. Once it breaks the low, we're looking for essentially a move lower. In that case, 8300 and then potentially 7880. But for now, neutral. S&P 500, we have a neutral candle close for this one here as well. For several days here, price has tried to push higher, but it has failed. So because price tried to break through today and failed, this is not a good sign. We could see a drop here. We could see a switch in the market. So it's been trying to move higher, but hasn't really been successful. So we could see a drop. So watch out for that. So we could start getting a move like this. So it's right into the initial stages at this point. It hasn't quite turned yet. So watch out for this type of a move. If we don't get any comments out of China, we could just be stuck like this for a while here in this range. Right now, I'm just looking for a bit of a move lower into 3060 level. So bias though is neutral. So this one could just go sideways here for a bit. So neutral bias for S&P 500. Nasdaq here, same thing. It did try to move higher. But today's candle, we have pins on both sides. And this is not a strong setup, not a strong bullish setup. Neither is it bearish though. So neutral bias, I will look for a bit of a move lower here, 81.70, sorry. So neutral bias, looking for a bit of a pullback here. Nasdaq, this one is, Dow Jones, this one is completely neutral. It hasn't managed to close higher. So generally when we get these kind of candles, we tend to see a drop. So this one is kind of doing what this part did here. So we could see a move sideways here, but for now, looking for price to come and retest 27,500, which is this bottom here. So it's range bound at the moment. So I'm just looking for it to drop towards the bottom of the range. So neutral bias for Dow Jones as well. DAX here. DAX has also been trading sideways here for the last few days. Today's candle close is neutral. It hasn't really broken the high either. With this one as well, we could see a drop. So I would look for this type of a move. looking for a bit of a drop towards 13,150. So neutral bias for Dow as well. This one is looking neutral as well. It did go higher yesterday, but it hasn't really managed to hold that level. So completely neutral candle close. It could go in either direction, but because we have a lower high, I will look for price to go towards the bottom here, towards 73.20 first, and then potentially towards 72.50. So neutral bias here for FTSE as well. And Nikkei here, this one is also neutral, still trading in this range for the last almost a week here. And at this point, this one could go in either direction. There is rejection, which is shown by this pin. So this one could go in either direction. Bias is neutral, but I am looking for this one to essentially be doing one of these, right? So trading in a range as well. So neutral bias here for our Nikkei as well. All right, so we'll wrap it up here. Guys, have a great trading day tomorrow, and I'll see you again tomorrow.